Today, we uncover one of the most whispered stories in modern numismatics, the 1968 no-mint mark Washington quarter. A coin that at first glance looks like every other 25-cent piece jingling in coffee jars and dresser drawers across America. Yet hides a mystery so profound, it has collectors and investors chasing shadows for decades. Let's begin at the surface, and then we'll go deeper, into the veins of American history, human error, and pure luck. The year is 1968. America is on edge. The Vietnam War rages overseas. Martin Luther King Jr. has been assassinated. And at home, the mint is struggling to meet demand for circulating coins after years of silver shortages and public hoarding. The San Francisco Mint has just reopened for proof production after a 5-year hiatus. Philadelphia and Denver are busy striking billions of coins in base metals instead of silver, a necessary cost-saving measure. But amidst this chaos, a small anomaly begins to emerge. Some collectors notice that a few Washington quarters dated 1968 bear no mint mark at all. Normally, this would suggest they were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which, until 1980, did not use a mint mark on circulating coins. But that's where things get strange, because certain no-mint mark quarters from 1968 were not ordinary circulation strikes. Their surfaces shimmered differently, almost mirror-like, proof-like. The sharpness of Washington's curls, the polished fields behind him, the frosted relief on the eagle's wings, all spoke of something intentional, refined, proof-like. Yet the Philadelphia Mint wasn't authorized to strike proofs in 1968. That was the San Francisco Mint's domain. So how could a proof-quality coin exist with no mint mark at all? Here's where the story turns from numismatic fact to legend. A theory began circulating among veteran collectors that a few proof dies, originally prepared for San Francisco, were mistakenly used without a mint mark, or that transitional errors occurred during die creation. Proof dies, after all, were carefully polished and handled separately. If even one escaped the proof production line and found its way to Philadelphia, the result would be a small handful of coins with qualities unlike any other 1968 quarter ever made. For decades, these ghost proofs were considered rumors until a few examples surfaced in private collections, then auction houses commanding staggering sums. One verified specimen, pristine and graded at the highest professional level, reportedly sold for more than $733,000, sending ripples through the entire collector community. Why? Because that sale wasn't just about metal. It was about provenance, about possibility. Think about it. The Washington quarter, introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, was never meant to become a treasure map. Yet here it was, in 1968, carrying a story of human imperfection wrapped in patriotic symbolism. Most coins tell us where they came from. A tiny D for Denver, an SC for San Francisco. But this one? Silent, mysterious, mintless. And for collectors, silence speaks louder than words. It whispers rarity. It suggests error. It hints at untold value. The fascinating part of numismatics, and why so many Americans fall deeply, almost spiritually, in love with it, is that every coin is a time capsule. Each mark, scratch, or mint anomaly tells a story. It's the only collectible where history, art, economics, and sheer luck intersect in the palm of your hand. That's why even the smallest details, a missing mint mark, a double die, a subtle variation in rim thickness, can turn a 25-cent coin into a national headline. But let's pause here and ask something simple. How many times have you tossed a 1960s quarter into a parking meter, or dropped one in a tip jar without a second thought? And what if, just once, one of those was the coin everyone else missed? There's a psychological force at play here, one that drives collectors to keep searching, decade after decade. It's the fear of what's still out there. The Mint has never confirmed exactly how many 1968 no-mint mark quarters exist in this anomaly category. Some estimates suggest fewer than 10. Others believe a few more could be hiding in plain sight, resting quietly in old proof sets, mixed in estate hoards, or sitting unnoticed in family coin jars. That uncertainty fuels desire. It keeps the market alive, because in coin collecting, belief often precedes discovery. Let's take a step back into history for a moment. '68 wasn't just a turning point for America. It was also a renaissance for modern coinage. It marked the end of silver in regular quarters and the beginning of a new metallic era, the copper-nickel-clad coin. That transition introduced confusion, mistakes, and experimentation. Dies were swapped, mint marks relocated, and mechanical errors flourished. From that crucible of change came some of the most valuable coins of the modern age, including the infamous 1968 no mint mark quarter. You could almost say this coin embodies 1968 itself, an era of turbulence, innovation, and the occasional oversight that made history. Fast forward to today. In the rare coin market, demand for unique errors and transitional pieces has never been stronger. Major auction houses have recorded record-breaking prices for coins that blend rarity, provenance, and narrative. And that's what sets the 1968 no mint mark quarter apart. It's not just rare. It tells a story. It bridges an era of war and uncertainty. Connects the precision of mint craftsmanship with the unpredictability of human hands, and tempts collectors with the eternal question, what if one more exists? Now here's where things get truly fascinating. When the $733,000 sale hit the headlines, coin appraisers across the country began revisiting forgotten collections. Dealers received floods of calls. People emptied decades-old piggy banks. Pawn shops became modern-day prospecting sites. Some found ordinary 1968 quarters, worth 25 cents. Others found mint-state examples fetching $50 or $60. A lucky few discovered high-grade rarities, climbing into the thousands. But that ultimate, pristine, mintless phantom, still only one or two confirmed, and that scarcity continues to stir imaginations. Pause for a moment and picture it, a small cardboard coin flip on a collector's desk. Inside, a simple coin. Nothing flashy, no gold, no diamonds, just a worn silver-colored disc. But under the magnifier, something feels different. The fields shimmer like still water. The details seem alive. The mint mark? Missing. Your pulse quickens. Is this it? Could this be the one? That's the magic of coin collecting. The moment when logic and emotion collide. It's history in your hand, destiny in your pocket. For serious collectors and investors today, understanding the market psychology behind these discoveries is crucial. Rare coins, particularly minting anomalies, don't just derive value from scarcity, they thrive on storytelling. A 1968 quarter without a mint mark isn't just rare, it's a chapter in America's industrial and cultural evolution. It's evidence of the imperfect human touch inside an institution that prides itself on precision. That story, when verified and authenticated, transforms from curiosity to capital. Auctioneers call it emotional equity. The more captivating the backstory, the higher the bidding climbs. Yet behind all the glamour of million-dollar sales lies a deeper truth, one that speaks to legacy. Every collector, whether novice or seasoned, is really after something more than profit. They're preserving continuity, a link to their nation's past. Finding or even learning about coins like the 1968 no mint mark quarter reminds us that our financial heritage, the coins we spend, save, and sometimes overlook, are artifacts of who we are. Every Washington quarter ever struck carries the face of a man who refused a crown, who believed in legacy over wealth. How fitting, then, that a coin bearing his image now symbolizes both. And so, the next time you handle your spare change, pause. Feel the weight of it. Study the date. Look for the smallest of signs, because in the world of numismatics, the extraordinary often hides in the ordinary. Maybe, just maybe, that 1968 quarter without a mint mark resting in your palm isn't just 25 cents, but a $733,000 doorway into history. Collectors know this truth. The thrill isn't only in finding treasure, it's in knowing it could be there. That possibility keeps the hunt alive. Generation after generation, fathers teaching sons, grandmothers passing down coin folders, stories whispered across kitchen tables check the date, check the mint mark. You never know. And that's the secret power of coins like the 1968 no mint mark quarter. They turn ordinary Americans into explorers of their own past. Because sometimes, wealth isn't only measured in what you hold, but in what you discover. So tonight, before you empty your pockets, take a closer look at your change, because somewhere out there, maybe in a dusty attic, maybe in a forgotten roll of quarters, a silent relic of 1968 waits for its story to be told once more. And when it finally surfaces, the world will remember that from the smallest of minting errors can come the greatest of fortunes. There's a story hidden in your pocket change, a quiet piece of metal that could alter your legacy forever. Imagine holding an ordinary-looking 1990 Denver Mint quarter, the same size, same shine, same 25-cent face value as millions of others. But beneath its dull gray surface, this unassuming coin has the power to command over $700,000 on today's private auction floors. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? How could something so common, so familiar, become a modern-day treasure worth more than a luxury home? The answer lies in a mystery that began more than 3 decades ago, deep within the roaring machinery of the Denver Mint, where billions of coins were pressed into existence, yet only a handful were born with a flaw so rare it became legend. Collectors call it the Phantom Quarter, because for years, it wasn't even known to exist. In 1990, the United States Mint was running at full capacity, producing over 927 million quarters. Each bore the familiar profile of George Washington, bold, stoic, and enduring. The small D below his neck marked its origin, Denver. It was supposed to be a flawless production year, and for most coins it was, but here's where fate or perhaps chance intervened. During a brief window, possibly no more than a single day, something changed in the Mint's die preparation process. A handful of planchets, the blank metal discs waiting to be struck, were paired with a mismatched or experimental die. The result? A tiny, nearly invisible variation, a misaligned die strike, a mint mark anomaly, or, in a few astonishing cases, a transition planchet intended for another denomination altogether. To the casual spender, it was just another coin. But to the trained eye of a numismatist, it was a spark of imperfection that set it apart. Genetic mutation in metal form. Now pause for a moment. Think about how many quarters have passed through your hands in your lifetime and dropped into vending machines, traded at gas stations, lost between couch cushions. What if one of those was the missing link, one of the few surviving 1990 Denver Mint quarters that collectors now whisper about in hushed tones? This is not a fairy tale. In recent years, a pristine specimen authenticated by the professional coin grading service surfaced at a private auction. Its sharp relief, untouched surfaces, and microscopic irregularities confirmed its identity. A 1990 D quarter struck under extraordinary conditions. The final hammer price? $723,000, no celebrity provenance, no gemstone embellishments. Just copper and nickel, forged in error, elevated by rarity. You see, coin collecting isn't merely about metal. It's about time travel, a tangible connection to history. Every piece carries whispers from its era, the ambition of the mint engravers, the politics of its production, the human hands that passed it along. For seasoned investors, this connection transforms into something more. A hedge against uncertainty, a symbol of permanence in an impermanent world. While markets fluctuate and digital assets vanish in an instant, a rare coin remains. It's an heirloom of wealth that doesn't just appreciate, it endures. And yet rarity alone doesn't explain the passion behind this market. It's psychology. The irresistible lure of the hidden treasure. Because deep down, every collector believes in the possibility of discovery. The idea that a forgotten coin tucked in a jar or old cigar box might unlock a fortune. But let's get real for a moment. Why does a single quarter, minted in the same year as millions of others, reach values that rival fine art? The secret lies in the trifecta of numismatic power: condition, provenance, and anomaly. First, condition. A coin's state of preservation determines its desirability. Mint state, 67 or higher, coins with perfect luster and no visible wear, are nearly mythical for certain years. Second, provenance. When a coin's chain of custody can be traced, particularly to early collectors or original mint sources, its authenticity becomes bulletproof. And third, anomaly, the defining ingredient. Whether it's a missing mint mark, an off-center strike, or a transitional metal composition, these deviations from the norm ignite collector frenzy. The 1990 D quarter sits at the crossroads of all three. Here's where the story deepens. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, the U.S. Mint underwent modernization, transitioning from older engraving and die technologies to computer-aided precision. The process, while revolutionary, wasn't seamless. Occasional errors slipped through the cracks, unnoticed, undocumented, and later, unrepeatable. A handful of 1990 D quarters are rumored to have been struck on planchets meant for the Washington commemorative series, resulting in subtle metal composition differences. Others display a ghost-like doubling in the date or an anomalous D mint mark shape, leading experts to believe an alternate die was briefly used. These variations are so minute that only under magnification or with decades of experience can they be spotted. Yet their value skyrockets precisely because of that obscurity. A curious thing happens when stories like this circulate in collector circles. Phone lines at appraisal offices light up. Coin forums buzz with speculation. Every estate sale or attic discovery becomes a potential headline. And why not? The emotional alchemy of hope and rarity drives the entire numismatic world. For many, collecting began in childhood. A grandparent's coffee can full of coins, a trip to the bank to search for silver. But as the years passed, that innocent curiosity matured into investment wisdom. The realization dawned. Coins aren't just relics. They're repositories of value capable of outperforming markets when chosen wisely. Yet, there's another reason people chase coins like the 1990 D quarter legacy. Unlike paper money, which fades and tears, a coin lasts lifetimes. It can be held, admired, passed down, a metallic story that never erases itself. Owning a rare specimen is not just about profit. It's about preservation. Every serious collector knows this feeling. That quiet moment when a coin rests in your palm and you realize you're holding history itself. You're touching something that has survived recessions, wars, and generations. Something that carries the silent imprint of an entire nation's craftsmanship and spirit. So, should you start rummaging through your change jar tonight? Maybe, but more importantly, understand what this story reveals. That rarity hides in plain sight, waiting for those who know where to look, because opportunities in numismatics aren't found by chance. They're recognized by insight. Those who took the time to learn, to study mint records, to understand die varieties and grading systems, they're the ones who discovered fortunes hidden in ordinary objects. And for those with patience, knowledge, and passion, the modern coin market still holds untold potential. Consider this. In the past decade, high-grade and rare anomaly coins have quietly outperformed many traditional investments. Coins like the 1932 Washington quarter, early Lincoln cents with repunched mint marks, or even Jefferson nickels with full steps on Monticello, all once overlooked, now command premiums in the thousands. Why? Because scarcity and demand will always find equilibrium in favor of those who see before others do. The 1990 D Denver Mint quarter is more than just an expensive coin. It's a reminder that value is never purely financial. It's historical, emotional, even spiritual. And maybe that's why stories like this captivate us so deeply, because behind every rare coin lies a human story. The engraver's steady hand, the mint worker's unnoticed error, the collector's patient pursuit, the family's stunned discovery. It reminds us that greatness can emerge from imperfection, that something as humble as a 25-cent piece, born from copper and nickel, can ascend to a symbol of wealth, persistence, and national artistry. So, the next time a coin slips across your palm, pause for a second. Tilt it under the light. Watch the way it catches the gleam, the soft hum of history in its reflection. Because maybe, just maybe, that ordinary quarter isn't so ordinary after all. Perhaps it's the one that changes everything. And when that moment comes, when the impossible becomes real, you won't just be richer in dollars. You'll be richer in understanding. You'll have proven that the treasures of America's past still whisper to those willing to listen. The 1990 D. Mint Mark quarter's legend endures not because of its metal, but because of what it represents. The intersection of chance, craftsmanship, and curiosity. It reminds us that in a world obsessed with speed and convenience, true wealth often hides in patience and observation. Maybe your fortune isn't waiting in the stock market or in the latest digital craze. Maybe it's sitting quietly in a desk drawer, bearing the face of George Washington, stamped with a tiny D, waiting for you to notice. And when you do, you'll join a lineage of American collectors who understood that the smallest details can hold the greatest rewards. Because in the realm of rare coins, discovery isn't luck, it's legacy, and legacies are forever. It begins with something ordinary, a 25-cent coin slightly worn sitting unnoticed in a glass jar on a kitchen counter. You've seen thousands like it before, but what if I told you one of those humble quarters could be worth more than a luxury home? A coin struck in 1996 at the Denver Mint, carrying a small D beneath George Washington's portrait, a coin so deceptively common that millions pass through vending machines every day, has stunned the numismatic world. Reports have surfaced of a single specimen fetching over $700,000 in private sale estimates. How could a coin minted barely 3 decades ago rise to such astronomical value? And more importantly, could one still be out there, waiting for you to find it? Let's unravel this quiet storm inside American coinage, a story of precision, error, obsession, and the strange alchemy of time and rarity. When the United States Mint pressed the 1996 Denver minted Washington quarter, it was part of a production run exceeding 900 million pieces, a sea of silver-toned discs, each worth a mere 25 cents. The coin bore the modernized bust of Washington, designed by John Flanagan, a faithful echo of the nation's founding spirit. To most Americans, this was pocket change, a tool for parking meters, not a relic for safes. But within that immense ocean of mass production, a handful of coins defied perfection. Minute misalignments, double strikes, and plancher anomalies gave birth to a series of errors so minute that even the Mint's eagle eyes missed them. Those rare flaws, hidden in plain sight, would become the fuel of legends. Consider the psychology of collectors, a curious mix of historian, gambler, and dreamer. Every coin is a vessel of time, each imperfection a fingerprint of fate. The seasoned collector knows value isn't determined by denomination, but by deviation, and the 1996 D. Washington quarter exemplifies that truth like few others. One particular specimen, reported to have an exceptionally sharp strike on an experimental plancher, is said to have surfaced in the hands of a Midwestern collector in the early 2000s. The coin was so brilliant, so crisp in relief, that professional graders initially suspected it was a proof strike mistakenly distributed to circulation. Later analysis revealed the truth. A die variant, an incredibly rare transitional metal mix and near-perfect preservation. Its appraised market value? Around $714,000. But that's not the end of the story. That's merely the beginning of the modern coin treasure hunt. Pause for a moment and think about this. How many of us have handled change without ever really seeing it? Each time a coin slides across a countertop, a tiny piece of history changes hands. Yet in the rush of daily life, we overlook the subtle differences. The tilt of a mint mark, the texture of a rim, the faint doubling of a letter. In the world of numismatics, these microscopic details are everything. They are the difference between a common trinket and a 6-figure heirloom. The 1996 D quarter's legend spread quietly through collector forums and private auction circles. A few sharp-eyed enthusiasts began combing through rolls from banks and estate sales, searching for clues. Some noticed a faint doubling on the word liberty. Others found odd luster, an unusual metallic hue, a slightly off-center reverse. Each discovery fueled speculation. Could there be a surviving batch of ultra-rare Denver strikes? Or was that $700,000 coin truly one of a kind? To understand why a modern coin could command such a fortune, one must step into the strange economics of rarity. The market for collectible coins is not bound by logic. It's driven by story, scarcity, and emotion. The 1913 Liberty Head nickel, for instance, owes its multi-million-dollar value not to precious metal content, but to mystery about 5 coins struck in secret, each now guarded like crown jewels. Similarly, the 1996 D-quarter's value is born of anomaly. Its unique strike errors, possibly the result of a transitional die experiment or a mismatched alloy test, create a perfect storm for collectors. It's a coin that shouldn't exist, yet it does. And that contradiction, that whisper of rebellion inside an otherwise ordinary coin, electrifies the collecting world. Picture a late-night coin show in Denver. The hum of fluorescent lights above glass cases filled with history. Dealers lean close, inspecting coins beneath magnifying lamps, chasing perfection in millimeters. One table falls silent as a collector lays down his find, a flawless 1996 Denver quarter, gleaming with uncanny sharpness. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. The dealer's loupe hovers, his breath catches. The strike depth, the plancher sheen, all signs point to something extraordinary. Offers are made, secrets are kept. Moments like these remind us why collecting is more than a hobby. It's a hunt for immortality. Because when you discover a coin no one believed existed, you don't just hold metal, you hold a fragment of the nation's hidden history, and perhaps a ticket to generational wealth. But why 1996? Why would a coin from the late 20th century, an era of advanced minting technology, produce such an anomaly? Here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. The mid-1990s were a transitional period for the U.S. Mint. Equipment upgrades, changing metallic compositions, and experimental die preparations occasionally resulted in unrecorded test strikes. A few of these prototypes, never meant for public release, slipped through the cracks, entering circulation unnoticed. If the 714K quarter is indeed one of these, its existence bridges two worlds: the industrial precision of modern minting and the unpredictable beauty of human error, a paradox in metal form. Let's be clear, not every 1996 D quarter is valuable. In fact, 99.9999% are worth exactly what they say, 25 cents. But within that ocean, there may be a few survivors of the Mint's mysterious experiments. And that possibility ignites the imagination of collectors everywhere. It's the same emotional spark that drives treasure hunters to comb beaches at dawn, or investors to bid 6 figures on a single copper coin. Beneath the rational surface lies a whisper. What if this one is the one? And that whisper has driven countless people to examine their change drawers with new eyes. Now imagine stumbling upon such a coin. You feel its weight in your palm, familiar, unassuming. But as light catches the surface, something unusual reveals itself. Sharper lettering, a curious sheen, a sense that this coin was struck with more force, more precision, more intent. Your heart quickens. You consult a magnifier. Could it be a double die? A transitional strike? In that instant, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Even if your coin isn't the legendary $714,000 specimen, that thrill, that moment of discovery, is what every collector secretly lives for. The story of the 1996 D quarter teaches a deeper lesson, that opportunity hides in plain sight, disguised as routine. When you start paying attention, truly paying attention, to what others overlook, you tap into a universal truth of collecting and investing. Wealth favors the observant. Every major numismatic fortune began with curiosity. A child holding a coin, a hobbyist checking mint marks by lamplight, an investor recognizing a pattern before the market caught on. These small moments of awareness create legacies. And in that sense, the 1996 D quarter is more than a coin. It's a mirror of human desire. Here's a secret few outside the hobby understand. Coins are not just metal. They are economic weather vanes. When investors grow wary of stocks, rare coins surge in value. When history feels uncertain, tangible assets, relics of trust and craftsmanship, become sanctuaries of confidence. Right now, we are living through another one of those turning points. As digital money expands and physical cash fades, the coins we once took for granted are gaining symbolic weight. They remind us of permanence, of something you can hold when the rest of the world feels abstract. And so, modern rarities like the 1996 D-quarter capture a dual allure, the thrill of rarity and the comfort of authenticity. Perhaps that's why seasoned collectors don't just chase profit. They chase legacy. They know that a rare coin passed down through generations carries more than market value. It carries a story, a fingerprint of an era. Owning such a coin connects you to centuries of craftsmanship, innovation, and quiet ambition. Imagine gifting your grandson a quarter that once bought chewing gum, only to tell him that it's worth more than his college tuition. That's not just wealth, that's heritage. Before we close, let me leave you with this thought. Some treasures aren't buried under mountains or at the bottom of the sea. They're hidden in plain sight, jingling in your pocket, waiting to be recognized by eyes that know what to look for. So tonight, when you empty your change bowl or pay for a cup of coffee, pause for a moment. Look closely at the quarters that pass through your fingers. Check the date. Look for the small d. Study the details that others ignore, because one day you might discover that fortune doesn't always knock on the door. Sometimes, it hides inside a coin you almost spent. The legend of the 1996 Denver Mint quarter continues to ripple quietly through collector circles, a reminder that the extraordinary often masquerades as the everyday. And as you hold your next coin to the light, ask yourself, is this just 25 cents? Or is it the beginning of your legacy?